Last time we learned about conditional statements, however, there is more you can do with them than just if, elif, and else. What if we want a conditional statement to run only if two conditions are met? Well, that's when we use the terms and or. And is for basically saying that a line of code will only run if something happens and if something else happens along with it. Or is used to make the code run if something happened or if something else happened. If that doesn't make sense here, it will make sense once we actually use it in code. So here's an example. In this piece of code, I am asking the user to pick one of four numbers. 1, 2, 3, or 4. And we're storing that in the integer number. Now, let's make the code react to if the user picks an odd number or if he picks an even one. To start, let's write our first if statement. This if statement will be for if the user chooses even numbers, so 2 and 4. Now before we write the condition, let's first write what happens when the user types in 2 or 4. Now that we have that, let's type in our condition. Since the user can only really choose one of the four choices, we aren't really gonna need and, since the user can't choose two things at the same time. So here we're going to be using or. So just like last time, let's start off with numbers equals 2. Remember again not to set it as numbers equals 2 because then that would just be reassigning what number is in the first place. You need two equal signs. Now we've written 2. What about 4? We need that too. Here's where the or comes in. After we write number equals 2, we write or, and then we include number equals 4. Now that we have that finished, let's move on to if the user types in odd numbers. Since it's below an if, and it's the same choices we had before, we'll write an elif statement. Now we'll just repeat what we did above, except we're just going to replace 2 and 4 with 1 and 3. Now that we have that, let's write what will happen if none of those choices are picked. Remember, since this is if none of the choices are picked, we will use an else statement. Now that we have that, let's finally run our code. If we pick 1, an odd number, it will say we picked an odd number. If we pick 3, another odd number, it will say the same thing. Now if we pick an even number like 2, it will say we picked an even number. And if we pick 4, another even number, it will say the same thing as if we picked 2. And if we pick absolutely none of those, then it will say something as well, since we already coded that in. Now that's it for today's lesson. Subscribe for more content, and if you found this tutorial helpful, leave a like down below. Anyway, that's all I have to say. See ya.